They laughed at me when I said I was building the future, but nobody is laughing now that I own the building they work in. It all started at the dinner table on a rainy Tuesday in November. That was the night my life split into two parts. The before when I was just Maya the dreamer and the after when I became Maya the CEO. We were eating meatloaf. My mother made it dry, the way my father liked it, and the only sound in the room was the scraping of silverware against china. I was sitting at the end of the table, tapping away on my phone under the tablecloth. I wasn't texting. I was checking the compile status of a neural network I had been training for 3 days on my laptop upstairs. Put the phone away, Maya, my father said. His voice was like gravel. He didn't look up from his plate. He just cut his meatloaf with a violent sawing motion. I slid the phone into my pocket. Sorry, Dad. I was just checking something important. Important, my brother Kyle scoffed. He was sitting across from me wearing his suit from work. Kyle was 26, 2 years older than me, and the golden boy of the family. He worked as the operations manager at Dad's logistics company. He drove a leased BMW and acted like he invented shipping containers. You are playing video games, Maya, Kyle said, taking a sip of his water. That ain't important. It is not a game, I said, keeping my voice low. It is a predictive model for supply chain optimization. I told you this. Supply chain optimization, my father repeated. He finally looked up. His eyes were tired and angry. He had been losing clients all quarter. His trucking business was bleeding money because of delays and fuel costs, but he wouldn't listen to anyone who didn't have grease under their fingernails. You know what optimizes a supply chain, he asked. Hard work. Showing up. Getting your hands dirty. Not staring at a screen until your eyes bleed. I took a breath. I tried to explain it one more time. Dad, the industry is changing. You guys are losing money because you are routing trucks based on old maps and gut feelings. My program uses real-time traffic data, weather patterns, and historical shipping logs to predict delays before they happen. I could save the company 15% in fuel costs alone. My father dropped his fork. It clattered loudly against the plate. My mother flinched. Stop it, he shouted. I am sick of this nonsense. I work 12 hours a day to put food on this table, and you sit in your room all day playing with toys. I am not playing, I said, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. I am coding. This is the future. It is a waste of time, he yelled. You are 24 years old, Maya. You have a degree you don't use. You have no job. You have no money. You are a burden. The word hung in the air. Burden. Kyle smirked. He looked at me with that pitying look that was worse than hate. Dad is right, Maya, Kyle said. You need to get real. Come down to the warehouse tomorrow. I can get you a job in dispatch. It is minimum wage, but at least you will be doing something useful. I looked at them. I looked at my mother, who was staring intently at her peas, refusing to meet my eyes. She knew I was smart. She knew I worked hard. But she would never cross him. I don't want to work in dispatch, I said quietly. I am a software engineer. You are unemployed, my father snapped. And I am done with it. I am done supporting your little hobby. He stood up. He was a big man, imposing, used to getting his way. You have two choices, Maya. You take the job Kyle is offering you, you hand over that laptop, and you start paying rent on the first of the month. Or you get out. I stared at him. Hand over the laptop? That laptop contained 3 years of my life. It contained the architecture for an AI that I knew in my bones was going to change everything. I can't give you my laptop, I said. Then get out, he said. He didn't scream it. He said it with a cold finality that was terrifying. Tonight, he added. I am tired of looking at you and seeing my money go down the drain. Pack your bags. My mother gasped. Robert, it is raining. She can go to a shelter, he said, sitting back down and picking up his fork. Maybe then she will appreciate what she had. I didn't cry. I wanted to. I wanted to scream and flip the table and tell them they were dinosaurs waiting for the meteor. But I didn't. I felt a strange calm wash over me. It was the calm of someone who has nothing left to lose. Fine, I said. I stood up. I walked out of the dining room. I went upstairs to my childhood bedroom. It was small, filled with posters of space and circuit boards. I grabbed my duffel bag. Packed my clothes. I packed my toothbrush. And then I packed my laptop. My charger. My hard drive backups. I put on my hoodie and my sneakers. I walked back downstairs. They were still eating. They didn't even look up as I walked to the front door. I opened the door. The rain was coming down hard, cold and gray. "You will be back in a week," Kyle called out from the dining room. "When you get hungry enough." I didn't answer. I stepped out into the rain and closed the door behind me. I didn't slam it. I shut it gently. That click of the latch was the loudest sound I had ever heard. I didn't have a car. I walked 3 miles in the rain to the bus station. I sat on a plastic bench, dripping wet, shivering, clutching my backpack to my chest like it was a baby. That backpack was my future. I had $400 in my bank account. That was it. I took a bus to the city. I found a hostel that charged $30 a night for a bunk in a room with 6 other people. It smelled like bleach and feet. I didn't care. I climbed into the top bunk, plugged in my laptop, and I started to code. That was the beginning of the grind. For the next 6 months, I didn't see the sun. I moved out of the hostel and into a basement studio apartment in a bad part of town. The walls were thin, the radiator clanked all night, and there was a constant smell of mildew. But it had internet. That was all I needed. I got a job at a coffee shop 3 blocks away. I worked the opening shift for AM to noon. I spent 8 hours serving lattes to people in suits, people like Kyle, people who looked through me like I was part of the machinery. Then I would go home, eat a cup of instant noodles, and I would work on Nexus. Nexus. That was the name of my baby. The AI platform my father called a toy. I was building a brain. A digital brain that could plug into any logistics system, analyze the data, and reroute shipments in real time to avoid traffic, weather, and strikes. It was brilliant. And it was hard. There were nights I wanted to quit. There were nights I stared at the screen until my vision blurred and my hands cramped. I would call my best friend Sam on video chat. Sam was the only person who knew where I was. "Maya, you look like a zombie," Sam said one night. Her face was pixelated on my screen. "You need to sleep." "I can't sleep," I said, taking a sip of lukewarm energy drink. "I'm so close, Sam. The beta test is running at 98% accuracy. I just need to fix the latency issue." "Have you talked to your mom?" Sam asked gently. "No," I said. "I haven't talked to any of them. They are worried, you know." "No, they ain't," I said, typing a line of code. "They are waiting for me to fail. They are waiting for me to crawl back and ask for that dispatch job. And I would rather starve, Sam. I would rather starve than let Kyle look at me with that smirk again." I kept pushing. I lived on caffeine and spite. Spite is a powerful fuel. It burns clean and hot. Every time I felt tired, I heard my father's voice saying, "You are a burden." And I typed faster. 3 months later, I launched the beta version of Nexus. I didn't have money for marketing. I didn't have connections. So I did what I knew how to do. I hacked. Well, not hacked illegally, but I scraped the email addresses of the top 50 logistics CTOs in the country. I sent them a cold email. No fancy graphics. No marketing fluff. Just a link to a demo and a subject line that said, "I can save you 20% on fuel costs in 30 days. Try it for free." I sent 50 emails. I got 49 rejections. Or silence. But one person replied. Marcus Thorne. If you know tech, you know Marcus Thorne. He was a venture capitalist who made his billions betting on impossible things. He was the guy who backed the cloud when everyone was still using floppy disks. His email was short. "This looks interesting. Be at my office Tuesday at 10 a.m. You have 15 minutes. I almost passed out. I called in sick to the coffee shop on Tuesday. I put on the only blazer I owned, which I bought at a thrift store. I took the subway to the financial district. I walked into a glass skyscraper that touched the clouds. The receptionist looked at my scuffed sneakers, but she let me up. Marcus Thorne's office was bigger than my entire apartment building. He was sitting behind a glass desk, looking at a tablet. He didn't smile. "Show me," he said. I opened my laptop. My battered sticker-covered laptop. I plugged it into his giant monitor. And I showed him Nexus. I ran a simulation using public data from a major shipping lane. I showed him how Nexus predicted a bottleneck at the port of Los Angeles 3 days before it happened and rerouted the virtual fleet to Oakland, saving $2 million in projected delays. Marcus watched the screen. He didn't say a word for 10 minutes. The silence was agonizing. I was sweating through my thrift store blazer. Finally, he leaned back. "You built this?" "Yes, sir," I said. "Alone?" "Yes, sir. In my basement. He looked at me. He looked at my tired eyes, my cheap clothes, my desperate posture. Why, he asked. Because my father told me it was a waste of time, I said. And I wanted to prove him wrong. Marcus smiled. It was a terrifying shark-like smile. I like spite, he said. Spite makes money. He opened a drawer and pulled out a checkbook. I am buying 30% of your company, he said. For $2 million. And I am giving you a line of credit to hire a team. We are going to scale this. I stared at him. $2 million. My father's company made $2 million in revenue in a good year. I had just made it in 15 minutes. Is that acceptable? Marcus asked. I nodded. I couldn't speak. Good, he said. Now go buy some better shoes. We have work to do. The next 6 months were a blur. A glorious high-speed blur. We rebranded. Nexus became Vector AI. I moved out of the basement and into a sleek office in the tech district. I hired a team of 20 engineers. We refined the code. We built a sleek interface. We started selling. And it sold like crazy. The industry was desperate for efficiency, just like I told my dad. We signed contracts with major shipping lines, with national retailers, with government agencies. I was working harder than ever, but it was different now. I was the boss. I was the expert. I was featured in TechCrunch. I was on the 30 under 30 list. But I kept my name quiet. I operated under the radar. I used my middle name Elizabeth on press releases. I didn't want my family to know yet. I wasn't ready. I wanted the reveal to be perfect. And then the universe handed it to me on a silver platter. It was a Monday morning. I was sitting in my corner office, drinking an oat milk latte that I didn't have to make myself. My assistant Leo walked in. Maya, we just got a lead on a new enterprise client, Leo said. They are a mid-sized logistics firm, family-owned, but they are struggling. They are bleeding cash and looking for a Hail Mary. They want to license the full Vector suite. What is the company name? I asked, not looking up from my screen. Miller Logistics, Leo said. My hands froze on the keyboard. Miller Logistics. My father's company. I swiveled my chair around. Are you sure? I asked. Yeah, Leo said. The request came from their operations manager, a guy named Kyle Miller. He says they are on the verge of bankruptcy if they don't fix their routing issues. He heard Vector as the magic bullet. I felt a smile spread across my face. A slow, dangerous smile. They want to buy my software to save the company they kicked me out of. Set up the meeting, Leo, I said. Okay, I will send a sales rep, Leo said. No, I said, standing up. I walked to the window and looked out at the city skyline. The rain was falling just like it was on that Tuesday night. But I wasn't cold anymore. Tell them the CEO is coming personally to oversee the implementation. Tell them it is a special VIP onboarding for a legacy client. Leo looked confused. You never do onboardings, Maya. I am doing this one, I said. When do they want to sign? Next Friday, Leo said. They are having an annual shareholder gala at the Grand Hotel. They want to announce the partnership there to calm down their investors. They want the Vector founder to be on stage to shake hands. The shareholder gala. I knew it well. I used to have to sit in the back corner in a stiff dress while Kyle and Dad took credit for everything. Perfect, I said. Tell them I will be there. Do they know who you are? Leo asked. No, I said. They have no idea. I went home that night and I stood in front of my mirror. I looked at the woman reflected back at me. I wasn't the girl in the hoodie anymore. I was wearing tailored silk. My hair was sharp. My eyes were clear. I thought about calling my mom. I wanted to warn her. But I couldn't. She had stood by and watched him throw me out. She had chosen her side. Friday came. The day of the reckoning. I put on a black suit. Sharp, severe, expensive. I put on heels that clicked like hammers on pavement. I grabbed my laptop bag. A leather one this time. Not the frayed canvas one I left home with. I got into the back of a black SUV. To the Grand Hotel, I told the driver. We pulled up to the entrance. It was raining again. Of course it was. But this time, a valet opened my door with an umbrella. I walked into the ballroom. It was full of people. Round tables with white tablecloths. Waiters circulating with champagne. I saw them immediately. My father was standing near the stage, holding a drink. He looked older. Grayer. His suit looked a little loose, like he had lost weight from stress. Kyle was next to him, laughing loudly at something a client said. But his eyes were darting around the room nervously. They were terrified. Their business was crumbling. And they were pinning all their hopes on this mystery savior. This vector AI. I stayed in the shadows at the back of the room. I watched them. The MC walked up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming," he said. "I know it has been a tough year for Miller Logistics. But we have some exciting news. We are entering a new era. We have partnered with the world's leading artificial intelligence firm to revolutionize our operations." My father puffed out his chest. He nodded to the crowd. "Please welcome the founder and CEO of Vector AI, who is going to officially sign the partnership agreement with us tonight." The spotlight swept across the room. I stepped forward. I walked down the center aisle. The sound of my heels cut through the applause. First, they didn't recognize me. The lights were bright in their eyes. They just saw a woman in a power suit walking with purpose. I climbed the stairs to the stage. My father turned to shake my hand. He had a big fake smile plastered on his face. "Welcome, we are so honored to." His voice died in his throat. He froze. His hand hung in mid-air. The color drained from his face so fast he looked like a corpse. Kyle dropped his glass. It shattered on the stage floor, loud and shocking. "Maya," my father whispered. "Hello, Dad," I said. My voice was amplified by the microphone. It boomed across the silent ballroom. I turned to the audience. I saw the confusion on the investors' faces. I saw my mother in the front row, her hands covering her mouth. "I am the founder of Vector AI," I said to the crowd. "And I believe we have some business to discuss." The silence in that ballroom was heavy enough to crush a truck. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning and the sharp intake of breath from 300 people. My father stood there with his hand still extended, frozen in a handshake that never happened. His eyes were wide, darting between my face and the giant screen behind me that displayed the Vector AI logo. The logo he had been praying to for weeks. "Maya," he choked out again. His voice was a rasp. It sounded like sandpaper on concrete. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I kept my face perfectly neutral, the kind of face you wear when you are negotiating a merger, not reuniting with the father who threw you out in the rain. "Mr. Miller," I said, keeping it professional, "I believe we have a contract to sign, unless you have changed your mind about saving your company." He blinked. He looked at Kyle, who was on his knees picking up shards of glass, his face bright red. He looked at my mother in the front row, who was weeping silently into a napkin. Then he looked at the investors in the room, the sharks, the people who held his debt. They were watching him. They didn't care about family drama. They cared about profits. If he walked away now, if he made a scene, Miller Logistics was dead by morning. He knew it. And I knew he knew it. He swallowed hard. He straightened his tie with a trembling hand. "No," he said, his voice weak. "We haven't changed our mind." "Good," I said. I walked past him to the podium. I plugged in my laptop. The same laptop he told me to hand over. The same laptop he said was a waste of time. I ran the demo. For the next 20 minutes I owned that room. I showed them the real-time tracking. I showed them the predictive algorithms. I showed them how Miller Logistics was currently bleeding cash on the 95 corridor, and how my software would fix it in 48 hours. I didn't look at my family. I looked at the data. I spoke to the audience. I was brilliant. I was sharp. I was everything they said I couldn't be. When I finished, the room erupted. The investors were standing up, clapping. They saw the money. They saw the future. My father stood to the side, clapping slowly. He looked like a ghost. He looked like a man watching his own funeral while everyone else celebrated. The MC rushed back to the microphone. "Let's get that contract signed." A table was brought out. A photographer circled us, snapping photos. Flash bulbs popped like lightning. I sat down on one side. My father sat on the other. He picked up the pen. His hand was shaking so bad he could barely hold it. He looked at me one last time before he signed. His eyes were pleading. He was looking for his daughter. He was looking for Maya, the girl who used to ask for allowance. But she wasn't there. I pushed the paper toward him. "Sign here, Robert," I said softly. "Press hard. It is a carbon copy." He flinched when I used his first name. But he signed. He signed away a percentage of his company to the daughter he evicted. He signed his salvation and his defeat in the same ink. Thank you, I said, taking the folder. We will have our implementation team on site Monday morning. I stood up. I shook his hand. His palm was cold and sweaty. I turned to leave the stage. Maya, wait, he whispered. Please. I didn't stop. I walked down the stairs. The applause followed me. I walked straight through the crowd, ignoring the hands reaching out to congratulate me. I walked toward the exit. I made it to the lobby before they caught up. Maya. It was Kyle. He was running after me, his face flushed, his tie crooked. My father was right behind him, moving slower, looking old. My mother was trailing them, looking terrified. I stopped near the valet stand. I turned around. What do you want, Kyle? I asked. He stopped a few feet away, panting. Is this a joke? He spat. Is this some kind of sick joke? You set us up. You knew we were the client. You let us sweat for weeks just so you could humiliate us in front of everyone. I looked at him. I looked at the brother who offered me a minimum wage job in dispatch while he drove a BMW I knew he couldn't afford. I didn't set you up, Kyle, I said calmly. You called me. You called Vector AI because you were desperate. I just answered the phone. You are a witch, he hissed. You think you are so smart. I am smart, Kyle. That has been established. The question is, are you smart enough to realize that I am now your biggest vendor? Which means I can pull the plug anytime I want. So I would watch your tone. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He realized the power dynamic had shifted. The ground had moved under his feet. Maya, my father said, stepping forward. He put a hand on Kyle's shoulder to silence him. Maya, look. We didn't know. Didn't know what? I asked. We didn't know it was you. We didn't know you had this in you. You mean you didn't know I was worth anything until I had a checkbook with 7 zeros? I asked. No, that is not it, he stammered. We were just hard on you because we wanted you to succeed. We were trying to motivate you. Tough love. And look. It worked. You built this. You are a CEO. We pushed you to this. I laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound that echoed in the marble lobby. Do not dare take credit for my success, Robert. You didn't push me to success. You pushed me into the rain. You pushed me to a homeless shelter. You pushed me to starvation. I succeeded in spite of you, not because of you. My mother stepped forward. She reached out a hand like she wanted to touch my arm, but she stopped short. Maya, baby, please, she said, her voice trembling. Come home. We can fix this. We can have a nice dinner. I will make the meatloaf the way you like it. We are a family. We miss you. I looked at her. I looked at the woman who sat silently eating her peas while her husband threw her daughter out on the street. I missed you too, Mom, I said. For the first month. I missed you when I was sleeping on a bunk bed in a hostel that smelled like urine. I missed you when I had to choose between paying for internet or paying for dinner. I waited for you to call. I waited for you to sneak me $10. I waited for you to just ask if I was alive. She lowered her head, tears streaming down her face. But you never called, I said. You chose your side. I am sorry, she whispered. I know, I said. I believe you are sorry. Now that I am rich. Now that I am successful. It is easy to be sorry when the person you hurt turns out to be the winner. Maya, don't be like this, my father said. His voice hardening again. We are your parents. You owe us some respect. Respect, I repeated. I took a step closer to him. I was in my heels, standing almost eye to eye with him. Respect is earned, Dad. You taught me that. You told me that if I didn't contribute, I was a burden. Well, I am contributing now. I am saving your legacy. So here is how it is going to work. I pulled a business card from my clutch. I held it out. This is my assistant's number. If you have issues with the software, you call him. If you have billing questions, you call him. You do not call me. You do not come to my office. You do not show up at my apartment. But Kyle started. And Kyle, I cut him off. I reviewed the implementation plan. The first thing Vector AI does is optimize management efficiency. My algorithms show that your position is redundant. If you want to keep using my software, you are going to have to restructure. Kyle's jaw dropped. You are firing me? I am not firing you, I said with a shrug. The data is firing you. I am just the messenger. I turned back to my father. The implementation starts Monday. The invoice is due on the 1st. Don't be late. I hear you are having cash flow problems. I turned around. The valet had pulled up my car. It wasn't a limo. It was a sleek electric sports car that I had bought with my own money. I got in. I rolled down the window. They were standing there on the sidewalk. A tableau of regret. My father looked old and defeated. My mother looked broken. Kyle looked furious and impotent. They looked like strangers. It was raining again. The drops were hitting the pavement, washing away the dust. I looked at them one last time. Goodbye, I said. I rolled up the window. I drove away. I didn't look back in the rearview mirror. I drove through the city, the lights blurring on the wet asphalt. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. It was a video call from Sam. I tapped the screen to answer. Sam's face popped up, grinning ear to ear. She was wearing a Vector AI hoodie I had sent her. I saw the live stream. Sam screamed, "You were amazing. Did you see his face? Did you see Kyle drop the glass? It was legendary." I smiled. A real smile this time. One that reached my eyes. "Yes, Sam. I saw it. How do you feel?" she asked. I took a breath. I thought about the anger I had carried for 6 months. I thought about the fear. I thought about the nights I cried myself to sleep. And I realized it was gone. The heavy weight on my chest had lifted. "I don't feel angry anymore," I said. "What do you feel?" "I feel expensive," I joked. Sam laughed. "You are expensive, boss lady. Are you coming over?" I ordered pizza. "Yeah," I said. "I am coming over. Save me a slice." I hung up the phone. I turned onto the highway, heading toward my new apartment. It was a penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. It was quiet. It was clean. It was mine. People tell you that family is everything. They tell you that blood is thicker than water. They tell you that you have to forgive everything because they are your parents. But they are wrong. Family is the people who answer the phone when you are crying at 3 a.m. Family is the people who believe in your crazy ideas when everyone else calls them a waste of time. Family is the people who respect you not because you have money but because you are a human being. My blood family kicked me out. But the family I built? The code, the team, Sam? They saved me. I pressed the accelerator. The car surged forward, smooth and powerful. I wasn't Maya the burden anymore. I wasn't Maya the disappointment. I was Maya the architect. And I had a whole new world to build. Respect isn't optional. It is the price of admission. And if you can't pay it, you don't get a seat at my table.